msnbc fell into some hot water recently, so let's go get into it.
Brandy Zadrozny is a, quote, reporter with NBC News. What does she do exactly? Well, by her description, her job is seeking out personally identifying information about anonymous Trump supporters online, some of them, and revealing their true identities. Zadrozny has acknowledged, quote, this: I use social media sleuthing to learn about a subject's real life, their family, friends, jobs, personal and political associations. So what does that mean exactly? What kind of information? Well, that information could include phone records, property records, even their Amazon wish lists. What is this about exactly? Darren Beatty is one of the people who broke this story. He's with Revolver News. Darren, thanks so much for joining us. So before you get into the sort of larger meaning of this, tell us specifically what is she doing? What does this mean?
Oh, she's up to no good. As you mentioned, she uses state-of-the-art proprietary technical tools to dig up personal information about anonymous Trump supporters online. As you mentioned, that includes property records, phone records, even Amazon wish lists, you name it. She'll do everything she can to unearth anonymous Trump supporters, basically so she can ruin their lives.
Why would NBC News be doing something like this? I mean, you'd think NBC's job would be to tell us the news. What do the policies mean? Why would they be going after anonymous Twitter users?
It's a great question. It really is disgusting. It's disgraceful, even by modern journalist standards.
First of all, that's the lawsuit waiting to happen.
I'd love for NBC to comment on this. We see these journalists are not even acting as meaningful journalists. What they're doing is acting as commissars, a neo-Stasi, effectively, in order to crush the rebellion of the American people against their corrupt ruling class associated with the victory of Donald Trump. There's one aspect of this story that's maybe even more disturbing than what you described, and that is that Brandy Zadrozny uses this term disinformation as the pretext to go after Trump supporters and destroy their lives. I think, as many viewers have seen, disinformation is this new buzzword, this new pretext used to silence Trump supporters. What's especially dangerous about this is that it brings this force to bear in a national security context. Disinformation is a national security term. It invites the force of our own national security apparatus to silence Trump supporters domestically. And it's part of this trend that we're seeing, a broader swaths of our own national security apparatus being repurposed and redeployed domestically to silence, suppress, and destroy the energies associated with Donald Trump's victory in 2016.
For a news organization to work in concert with the federal agencies to suppress dissent domestically, I mean, I never imagined that would happen, but that is happening.
Right. The full story of this, I would need hours to explain, but just a little detail. So she wrote for her fellow journalists a manual, a doxing manual.
Is she... Oh, if I get doxed, or if anybody gets doxed, Jesus, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Detailing her methods for fellow journalists who failed the same ethics class. One of the sponsors of her doxing manual on how to
let me guess, MSNBC?
ruin Trump supporters' lives by uncovering their personal information
DNC?
is Bellingcat, an organization funded by NED and our own government. Taxpayers are funding this.
It's unbelievable. Noah Oppenheim at NBC News, one of the people who should answer. The guy who apparently leaked the Access Hollywood tape to the Washington Post in 2016. They never...
So he has a history of leaking things?
Never have to answer the question.
Absolutely.
Darren Beatty, great to see you tonight. Congrats on the story.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So as we can all see, that is a serious issue. I mean, legitimately. I mean, if news organizations are going to dig up information about people who don't agree with them, I mean, what's the limit? I mean, seriously, let's say they have their bank records. Well, MSNBC finds that they committed a crime. Well, and let's say they take him to court. Well, what's going to be their reason for this? Oh, um, they were spreading anti-gay rhetoric. Okay, so how does that how does that relate to bank records? Oh, it doesn't. Objected, but now MSNBC would probably post a story saying the court rejected our evidence that a a um um a bank robber didn't rejected our they rejected our evidence, even though that would put him away. And oh, by the way, here's his address and his bank records and everything that he ever owned, has ever contacted to, which is kind of scary. But to get an even better idea of who this person is, let's get it from her own Twitter account. Same guys who brought you the false COVID leaked from China lab stories are now working to plan Pizzagate, Hunter Biden, and CNN link, and MSNBC News, Tech News. Okay, well, let's go read the headlines. Weird Science: How Shabby ban-packed paper on coronavirus origins made its way on an audience of millions. Inside the campaign to Pizzagate, Hunter Biden. Then it's some fine print. But this is concerning because, oh my gee, it comes from China. Are you denying it? It leaked from a China lab? Yeah, it doesn't matter if it was genetically modified or not. If it was being studied by the Chinese, it was in a Chinese lab. Meaning it had to come from China. Let's just say it did come from China. That would mean China was completely oblivious of the coronavirus. They had no idea, even though, over the 2019 summer, there was an abnormal amount of hospital visits that cannot be explained except, a bunch of virus. You'd think the Chinese government, right next to one of their virus labs, would say, "Hey, we have this outbreak. I wonder what it could be. Oh, ding ding ding. Oh, we have a new virus." You're telling me China couldn't think of that? New an increase with no apparent reason of a special lab designed for viruses nearby. Airborne virus escapes. It infects people, and people go to hospital. I didn't know that. But whatever. But second of all, what does Pizzagate mean? Gamergate? What the hell is Pizzagate? Seriously. It's a legitimate conspiracy theory. What the hell is Pizzagate? So according to Wikipedia, Pizzagate, Pizzagate is a debunked conspiracy theory that went viral during the 26th United States election cycle. It has been extensively discredited by a wide range of organizations, including the Washington, D.C. police. In March 2016, personal and email account of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's email manager, was hacked in a spear phishing attack. WikiLeaks published his emails on November 2016. Proponents of the Pizzagate conspiracy were falsely claimed that the emails contained coded messages that connected several high-ranking Democratic Party officials in U.S. restaurants with alleged human trafficking and child molesting ring. And it definitely says molesting instead of something else, because I want to remain my, well, not, my, non-restricted mode. Members of the alt-right conservative journalists, and others who urged the Clintons' prosecution for the email spread the conspiracy theories on social media such as 4chan and 8chan. Okay, first of all, 4chan and 8chan, not really social media, but whatever. And Twitter. In response, a man from North Carolina uh, traveled to Comet Ping Pong to investigate the conspiracy and fired a rifle inside the restaurant. Oh, so that's what it is. Got it. So in other words, also it shows a picture of Trump, who didn't endorse it. Also, first of all, back to the COVID thing. Didn't a bunch of Chinese scientists say, hey, we were suppressed from actually telling the Chinese government and the Chinese people it came from China? Weren't they suppressed? You know, that thing? We're gonna go look at the MSNBC article linked in that tweet. And it's super long, so I'm going to go selectively cut out some details, and I've already found my first one. For more than 2 months, Revolver has worked to expose the true nature of the 2020 presidential election. Powerful forces in the national media, academia, intelligence service, and the courts are fighting to prevent Americans from holding an ordinary vote on November 3rd, instead bringing around the indeed outcome of regardless of whatever the law says or what the public wants, while giving the whole process a gloss of democratic legitimacy. Harassment, censorship, and intimidation of Trump supporters by any means necessary is a key element of the color revolution strategy. And Brandy Zicordi of NBC News is a key hatchet and a woman working on behalf of the oligarchists. Zenori has a long history of targeting Trump supporters for doxing, censorship, and harassment. She possesses a neutral reporter, but like so many of other journalists in 2020, she is simply an Jesus Christ, an ideological motivated villain. But what this proves even more is these journalists, these so-called journalists, have no ethics. They failed their ethic class, they failed their morals class, and they failed their IQ test. I know. That's how stupid they are. And the article continues as Zachary was a major contributor to the verification handbook and for online journalists. Specifically, Zachary wrote a guide on the unethicality of a dox anonymous people online. Zachary appears to use paid dark data search engines to dox the personal information of anonymous Trump supporters online, obtaining property records, phone information, and even their Amazon wish list. Zachary is part of the press corps deployed to cover misinformation and disinformation and extremism. After the internet fueled President Donald Trump's win in 2016, this new journo beat was created to survey and slander and censor online voices that counter the ruling class narrative. Now, I'm not going to go put this in the video because I'd like to remain that as far spread as possible, but let me tell you, she goes to some pretty great extremes, verging on the point of being illegal. Now, there is a bit of a twist, so call me M. Night Shyamalan, but Pizzagate is involved. So, guess what this is. While Zuri is passionate and committed to doxing and silencing her political foes, there's another group she's sympathetic to: pedos. In 2018, Al Malcolm drove to a house in Bristol, Connecticut, was planning to rap a 14-year-old. Fortunately, there was no 14-year-old. Instead, Malcolm was castified by the local group Pop Squad. Short for Prey on Predators, which shamed him on camera. Shortly after, Malcolm committed suicide using a rope. In a long article written shortly afterwards, a hostile article on the vigilant group that targeted sexual predators, Zakori complained at the length of the suffering of pedos confronted by the Pop Squad. Incredible segment of the article, glamorized and handsome, alleged the pederastes who wholly subscribed to the American dream. In other words, she could be a pedo. Also, who gets sympathy to pedos? Like, seriously. I'd like to know, because rapping, or I guess I can just say the word raping a 14-year-old girl, not okay. So, yes, the article does exist, and I'm not gonna read too much into it because this video is getting too long. But she does defend pedos, calling her tall and handsome son of immigrants, and how he's suffering so much, how she glorifies pedophilia. Nice. So NBC got in contact with Facebook, and they said, while they do not directly ban them, they say, yeah, they do violate our rules for bullying and shaming. So let's see. You're a Trump supporter, you get doxed. All of your private information gone. Everything you want to keep private gone. Literally everything about your life in the public. Almost anybody can find you, right? You're a pedophile. You get to be sympathized with, and you get to have the people who set up a sting to catch you. Oh, you get to have them collected data on. Oh my god, the double standard is real. And if that's not clear enough for you, literally look at any articles surrounding the presidential debate. Bye.